Hey everybody, it's Ben, and I'm back once again with another video for you guys. Today I'll be reviewing Uncanny Avengers Volume 2, The Apocalypse Twins. The series is written by Rick Remender, with this particular volume being illustrated by Daniel Acuña and Adam Kubert. And the second volume collects issues 6 through 11 of the Uncanny Avengers series, which is published by Marvel Comics as part of their Marvel Now initiative. As well as issues 6 through 11, this volume also collects issue 8 AU, which is a tie-in to the Age of Ultron 10-issue event from Marvel by Brian Michael Bendis and friends. So the story starts out in Scandinavia in 1013 AD, where we have a young Thor, God of Thunder, going up against Apocalypse, or Ensabano. And this is my first exposure to Daniel Acuña as an artist, and his artwork is absolutely fantastic. And he also does his own inking as well. As you can see, here's a great two-page spread which really shows you just how fantastic Daniel Acuña's artwork actually is. As you can see there and there. So after a brief fight with Apocalypse, Thor is forced to retreat, and he then goes to his father Odin, who he requests Odin aid him in basically bringing down Apocalypse. But due to a deal that was struck by the Sky Fathers, or the pantheons of the gods on Earth and the Celestials, which Apocalypse is the chosen caretaker of. Due to this deal, and also due to the fact that if Thor were to best Apocalypse in the past and defeat him and subsequently kill him, this would then give way to a far greater catastrophe in the future. So based on these grounds, Odin refuses to help Thor, but then thanks to a timely intervention by Loki, who is Thor's half-brother, they come across an enchantment which Thor uses on his axe, which enables him to crack celestial armor. So he then goes up against Apocalypse for a second time, and he actually manages to severely wound Apocalypse. But then this also gives way to the terrible catastrophe and the event that would befall mankind in the future later on in the story. I forgot to mention that Frank Martin does the colouring for Adam Kubert's issue, which is the Age of Ultron 8 AU issue, which anyway, I forgot to mention that. But anyway, we then have the introduction of the Apocalypse twins, Uriel and Eimem, E-I-M-E-M, however you choose to pronounce that, who are the children of Apocalypse and Pestilence, which is a plot line which Rick Remender first introduced in the Dark Angel saga in his Uncanny X-Force run, pre the Marvel Now initiative. And there's an awesome scene where Uriel, who is the boy of the twins of the Apocalypse, and Eimem being the daughter, he uses Thor's axe from the past, enchanted to now crack celestial armor, manages to kill a celestial gardener, which has never happened before, and this leads to basically the main source of conflict within the storyline. And there's also another great scene of a celestial ship crashing into the Peak, which is the headquarters for SWORD, which is the space monitoring agency run by Abigail Brand. So there's a great scene of those two ships colliding with one another, as you can see there. I also really like the fact that Rick Remender actually finds the time to give each of these characters their own moment to shine, especially in a scene where Thor and Sunfire work together to bring down the wreckage which is plummeting over Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. Here you have Thor doing what he can to basically take out part of the ship and try to avert as much damage and as many human casualties as possible. But then you have a great scene of Sunfire, or Shiro, basically finishing off the remains and seeing that there are no human casualties or damage done to the city. And there's a great scene which shows off just how a little bit arrogant Shiro actually is, saying to the citizens of Rio de Janeiro, thanking the Avengers for having the foresight to beg Sunfire to join the Uncanny Avengers, which kind of shows you how not quite arrogant, but he has got that air of arrogance about him, obviously being a very proud warrior and a very proud member of the Avengers, given his culture being from Japan. We then go into the Age of Ultron 8 AU issue, where we have Kang basically training the Apocalypse twins to be the supposed saviors of mutant kind. But we see from Kang's inner monologue that he is basically training these twins to serve his own ends and to his own agenda. And despite the fact that this is a tie-in to the Age of Ultron event by Brian Michael Bendis and friends, this was actually a pretty good issue, actually. And it's also written by Jerry Dugan as well. Which, to tell you the truth, when I was reading it, I didn't actually notice the difference in the writing, because the writing was still really strong and really consistent. And the artwork by Adam Kubert is actually really good as well. And there's a great scene where in this future tie-in, in this future timeline, within this tie-in issue to Age of Ultron, there's a great scene where Ultron of the Apocalypse twins, or the boy, as I've said, he manages to best Rogue in combat, and he then realizes his mistake after Rogue manages to touch him and absorb his memories as a result. And there's a great scene where he promises Rogue to take her to a healer amongst the Morlocks in this future timeline. But there's a great scene where Enim, his sister, manages to successfully bash all those hopes away by actually killing Rogue while Yulio is holding Rogue in his arms. And there's a great scene where Kang basically is just being a really horrible father figure and a mentor to these twins, forcing them to do things that they don't want to do, as I've said, with Yulio having doubts about not only taking out Rogue but also a few other characters as well. And here's a really cool 2-page spread of Kang's trophy room in the Kang Dynasty timeline, of which Kang is actually the master of. And all of these trophies that he's managed to accumulate over time are all of Marvel superheroes or heroes that he's managed to best, supposedly in single combat. And we then have the introduction to the twins, at least, of Thor's axe from the past. And there's a great scene again of Rick Remender using more of the plot lines and the plot threads from his Uncanny X-Force run. We have Wolverine, who's being haunted by nightmares of seeing Archangel and Evan, or Genesis, as well as his own son Daken, who are all three people that Logan has had to kill in the events of Rick Remender's Uncanny X-Force run. And you start to see how this really has the repercussions of this on the entire Uncanny X-Force team, Uncanny Avengers team rather, or the Avengers Unity Squad. And you especially have Captain America's outrage over the fact that Wolverine, during the events of the Apocalypse Solution, which is the first story arc of Rick Remender's Uncanny X-Force run, as I've said, pre the Marvel Now initiative, had to kill Apocalypse when he was still a child, which was actually is something that Captain America is not only morally opposed to, because that's not what the Avengers stand for, but also for more, much more base and personal reasons, which you find out later on over the course of the story, in a conversation between him and Janet, or the Wasp, the reason for, or the other reason for Cap's outburst to Logan about killing a child. But then you also have Thor coming to Wolverine's defense in that he says that during times of war, you need to kill your enemies in order to save the lives of innocents. And Thor actually manages to take some of the blame because he actually owns up to the fact that the axe that the Apocalypse twins are actually wielding and have wielded to disastrous effect in killing a celestial gardener was actually Thor's axe from the past that he lost eons ago. So you have Thor basically shouldering some of the blame and coming to not only Logan's defense but also to Rogue's as well in the beginning of the story. You also have the introduction of the new 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse, 2 of which are Daken and the Sentry, which the Sentry actually goes up against Thor, God of Thunder, as you can see there. And there's 2 other Horsemen of the Apocalypse that I won't spoil, because I don't want to give away any spoilers, because I want you guys to pick this up and read this for yourselves. But one of which I was actually pretty, the Sentry I was definitely surprised and quite happy to see, as we haven't seen him since the events of the Siege mini event from Bendis and Olivier Coipel back in the mid-2000s. And also Daken is a given, as he was a prominent antagonist, or one of the main antagonists in the last story arc of Remender's Uncanny X-Force run in the Final Execution storyline. And there's also some really great scenes of the Apocalypse twins actually managing to really convince Wanda Maximoff or the Scarlet Witch that they need her help in order to put their plans into motion, which you find out in issues 12 through 14, what the twins' plans are. And there's a great final scene of them asking Wanda if she's ready to embrace her destiny, to which she says she is, which is a really great cliffhanger, and then leaves off nicely for the beginning of issue 12. The writing and the storytelling in this by Rick Remender is still absolutely fantastic and absolutely stellar. The artwork, as I've said, by Daniel Acuña is absolutely fantastic, as well as his own inking as well. The artwork by Adam Kubert is really good, and also the colouring by Frank Martin is also really good, along with the writing of that particular issue by Jerry Dugan. If I had to give the second volume of Uncanny Avengers a rating, I'd give it an absolute 5 out of 5. I really enjoyed it, and I highly recommend it. And that about concludes this review video, guys. Thank you everybody for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Didn't like it, thumbs it down. As I always say for thumbs down the video, by all means please feel free to tell me why in the comments below, or send me a private message. If it's your first time here and you'd like to see more of my videos, by all means please feel free to subscribe. And until next time, this is Gambit896 signing off, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care, guys.